Boa noite a todos. Nós vamos conversar com a jornalista Lucy Aharish. Ela é uma das principais âncoras em Israel. Imagino que vários de vocês a conheçam, pelo menos de nome. Ela também tem a peculiaridade de ser uma árabe muçulmana cidadã de Israel, nascida em Israel.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for this opportunity to speak in front of you. This is a great honor.
Well, we are, believe you, we are incredibly honored to have you here, and thank you so much for your patience. And I'd like to ask you, we are both journalists, and we usually tend to be the people who have all the early information on breaking news. What were you doing on October 7th last year? How was that day for you?
Wow. We love to say as journalists that we know everything. And we're updated about everything. And on October 7th, it was Saturday morning, and when the siren hit, I was in my bed, sleeping with my husband, my son. Our son just came like a few minutes before, and he lay down with us in the bed. And then a siren started. And I did like that. It's asking, I told him, asking, there are sirens. And you looked at me to be what? No, you're imagining. No. There are sirens. So we grabbed Adam and we went to the safe room, and I remember picking up my phone and starting to look, in my WhatsApp groups to see, at work, see if I missed something during the night, if I missed something that was happening, that something occurred that I didn't see. And I see that I don't see anything. And then everybody started writing, right? Or all my colleagues started writing in the group. We're hearing sirens. We're hearing boom above our heads. What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? And everybody were asking what is happening, because everybody were hearing sirens almost all over Israel. And then we started getting some messages. I think that 15 minutes into the event, we started getting messages that there was some infiltration in the south of Israel. Something is happening. And after, I think, 25 minutes, 20 minutes, or 25 minutes, there were the first images of the Toyota trucks getting into Sderot. And basically, all the horrible images that all of you saw, we basically witnessed them with everyone, on social media. The surprise was not only a surprise to Israel, for the Israeli government. By the way, I don't know if it was a surprise for the Israeli government or the Israel, or as well as, military or officials or officers, but it was definitely a surprise for Israelis, and it was definitely a surprise for Israeli journalists.
You mentioned you're not sure if the government was aware or anything like that. I mean, if you're not sure, that probably means most Israelis are not. Is there any reason to have any doubts about that?
Of course, because, these were well-known facts that basically Hamas was, doing, preparing himself for a certain date. They were practicing next to the border for months. People in the south, in the kibbutzim, in the south of Israel, said that they were seeing something that is happening. They were seeing something else that is not usual. a lot of women soldiers that were working, like in the bases next to the border, said that they were seeing something like a different movement. And everybody ignored the signs. You know, for months we've been asking, how come? How come this happened? How come the state of Israel, the big state of Israel, you know, the biggest military force in the Middle East, the strongest military in the world, we love to say, was we basically lost on October 7th. We lost and we were defeated by 2,000 people, not 200,000 people, not 2 million people, not 20,000 people, but 2,000 people. This is something that you cannot digest. I don't think that any of us in Israel are actually, we understand exactly what happened. We're maybe still digesting it. If we don't understand it, we definitely don't have answers to our questions. How come? How come it took hours for the military to win? How come people were slaughtered and burned and raped and kidnapped from their own home in the Jewish land? How come nobody came to help? Well, and this is something that, you know, history will give us answers. But now, we don't have, like, you know, a specific answer or a very vibrant picture about what happened on October 7th. The only thing that we know right now is that we have 133 hostages that are being held in the Gaza Strip by a terror organization. And basically, they're not home. And we passed Simchat Torah since October 7th. After Simchat Torah, there was Hanukkah. After Hanukkah, we had Purim. Now we are approaching Pesach, and still 133 citizens of the state of Israel are not celebrating Jewish holidays among their families. And this is unacceptable. This is just, I'm saying I have this bracelet on my wrist since I think the fourth day. I didn't take it down, and it's been, you know, wearing out. Like, you know, it looks bad, but this is how it looks on my hand. I don't want to imagine what is happening to the 133 hostages that we have in the Gaza Strip, being held by a terror organization in the tunnels. You know, they're not in a different continent. They're not in space. They are 2 hours drive from Tel Aviv. 2 hours drive. I don't think that people even understand the concept of what you're going through. You know, Tafi told me in one of the days that he came back, because 40 minutes into the war, Tafi's my husband, he put on his uniform and he went out to the reserves. He's 48, he's not supposed to go and do any reserves, but he just went. And he told me, Lucy, the most amazing thing is that thank God that he was able to get in and out every, week. And when he would come, he would take Adam to the kindergarten. And he told me, this is so surreal. I take our son to the kindergarten in Jaffa, I go and drink coffee, grab a cup of coffee. I take the car and I drive 1 hour and 40 minutes and I'm getting into hell. I'm basically in hell. And people don't understand that. That it's 1 hour drive, 1 hour and 40 minutes drive from Tel Aviv, and you are in hell. And this is trauma. We're in trauma. I think that the days will come and we will have really specific answers about our specific questions about what happened on October 7th and where was Israel and our government on October 7th.
So many questions there, but let me start with your husband. He's been into the Strip. What is he saying about what he's seeing there?
It's horrible. I think one of the first things that he told me was, Lucy, everybody's talking about the siege, that Gaza is under siege. We're talking about the fact that the majority of the people in the Gaza Strip are poor. And he told me, but Lucy, most of the places that I've been in are they used to be, right now. Now they don't exist. But most of the places that I've been, these are not poor people. Now, of course, in the Gaza Strip, you have poor people. You have people who are suffering from poverty. But a lot of the people also live in very good conditions. And there is an assumption that Gaza was under siege. But until October 7th, 6:28, because on 6:29, the first siren hit. On 6:28, until 6:28, on October 7th, every day in the Gaza Strip used to get in hundreds of trucks of aid from Israel. Israel transferred aid in money to the Gaza Strip. More than 20,000 workers coming in from the Gaza Strip, citizens of the Gaza Strip, got into Israel every single day and worked in Israel. Thousands of people were coming into Israel from the Gaza Strip to get medical treatments. The Rafah border was open. It was not closed. Well, you had to pay a lot of money if you wanted to cross the border, but it was open. It wasn't closed. So until October 7th, 6:28, that was the situation. And, people tend to think that, people are talking about the fact that, Gaza was under siege and the people of Gaza were starving to death. And the truth and the reality is more complicated than what people say. The reality, it's different. A lot of people had a lot of money. They were living in amazing houses. Yes, like in every society, you have the society that is not benefiting from the aid that Hamas got and the money that Hamas got. But it was a little bit different than what people think that happened in the Gaza Strip. But the fight there, I think that there was a week where he came back and he was in the tunnels. And he told me, wow, Lucy, this is I'm talking about distance, where we're walking and it's not ending. The tunnels are not ending. And it's not tunnels in the desert. No, they were really well-built tunnels with aisles and rooms and air conditioning. And basically, they were preparing their entire life for a long, long time to do what they did on October 7th. This was not planned, to have a touristic purpose. It had a different aim. And the aim was clear on October 7th. And the destruction right now in the Gaza Strip. It's not easy to watch. It's not easy to see. We're talking about a lot of, the fact that Hamas is demanding to go back to the north of Gaza. I'm telling you, there is no north of Gaza. There's no midst of Gaza, center of Gaza. In order to rebuild what, Gaza in the north and in the center, it's rebuilding it from scratch. From scratch. It's basically people will go back and they have no place to go back to. Because there's no north of Gaza. There's no center of Gaza. You know what? Like I said, it's complicated.
Let me ask you a bit about the relationship between Israelis and their government. And my point here is, usually when a country is attacked, there's that thing about, circling the wagons and hail to the chief and let's have this fight. And usually governments have a boom of popularity after an attack. But with Israel is a bit different, because Israel exists for one single reason: to keep Jews safe. And the Netanyahu government is the first government in the history of Israel that couldn't do that. So his popularity dropped. How are people dealing with the fact that there is a war? Soldiers must feel the warmth of the people. That's fundamental for you to fight a war. But at the same time, the government is a problem. And apparently Benjamin Netanyahu plans to stay on for longer. How is this working out?
At the beginning of the war, we were told not to occupy ourselves with politics, because this is not a time for politics. We heard it from politicians telling us this is not a time for politics, because this is a time to be strong, to get together, all of us Israelis, Jews, Arabs, secular, religious, all of us, to get together and to fight this fight together. And the days passed, and everybody, basically, the big, huge difference between Israel and other countries is the fact that almost everyone are going to the military. Almost in every house, you have someone who's going to the military, especially in wartime. And we try to keep it like that the first few days. Even us as journalists, we were trying to be focused on the being united, sending a united message to the people of Israel, being focused on the issue of the hostages, and not talk politics, because we really felt this is not the time for politics. But the time passed, and we discovered that politicians are doing what they know best: politics. We were trying to avoid politics, but politicians couldn't, hold themselves. And they were doing politics since day one. You know, Benjamin Netanyahu is a controversial prime minister. I will also say for sure that Benjamin Netanyahu is not a prime minister that throughout the years, throughout his history as the prime minister, he was not eager to go to war. He was never eager to go to war. He would manage the conflict. He would manage the status quo. I would say he would manage the volatile status quo in Israel, between Israelis and Palestinians. He was never eager to go to war. This war hit him also by surprise. And I think it put him in a place in history where he never, ever thought that he would. And, before October 7th, Israel went through major disputes because of the judicial reform, because of the, you can say, judicial coup, okay, that was his government was trying to do. By the way, they're trying to do it right now also. In a silent way, but they're trying to also do it right now. Like, they're doing some steps, some moves, and everybody are occupied with war, and they're doing what they need to do to move forward with the judicial reform. This is what they're doing right now. And I think we were, on October 6th, all of us, they're occupied. Me as an Israeli Arab Muslim, I watched the Israeli society basically being torn apart. It was, it was unbelievable. This is something that I've been talking about for a long time. When I saw what was happening in the last few months, like before October 7th, I was sitting down talking, with them, and I was saying, for years now, I've been talking about the incitement that the politicians are putting inside the Israeli society, the rift in the Israeli society, the fact that Jewish people are fighting among themselves, the fact that Jewish people have major, huge disputes between right and left and secular and religious and settlers and non-settlers. And you will see every day that the Jewish people were fighting among themselves. And I'm always saying something. It's like in a relationship. If you don't love yourself, you will never be able to succeed in a relationship with your partner. You need to be complete. You need to be whole. You need to be in peace with yourself before you are trying to create any kind of relationship in your life. And this is exactly what happened in Israel. Israel was fighting among itself. Israel and Israelis, especially Israeli Jews, were fighting among themselves. And throughout the years, I said, guys, come on, if you're hating so much yourself, how will you love me? If you are all day fighting among yourselves, if every day you are basically, calling names, to hear Jewish people. I sat down one day in one of in a panel discussion. And there was somebody on one side that he's from the right side of the political map, and somebody on the left side of the political map, and they were shouting for my Nazi, fascist, because of you, the state of Israel will be destroyed, because of you, we will not. And the host told me, "No, Lucy, what do you think?" I go, "What do I think?" A Jewish man just called another Jewish man fascist and Nazi in a Jewish land. And you people think that you have a problem with me? Solve your own problems and then try to even start to solve your problems with me. And what we saw that happened before October 7th, was exactly this. The Jewish people are fighting among themselves, and you know better than me. History tends to repeat itself. If we're not stopping it, if we're not doing everything in our power, if we're not waking up to see that history tends to repeat itself, it will. And this is what is happening right now. We see that history repeats itself. This is in the Torah. This happened twice to the Jewish people. And it's about to happen for the third time. But you know what? It also makes me, on the other side, it makes me bold. Because I see the protests in Israel in the last few days. And, I've been traveling right now in New York, in the U.S., giving lectures on campuses, especially Jewish communities. And, people in Israel are protesting for democracy. They are protesting to make sure that Israeli democracy continues to live and thrive. And when I see what people are like marching down the streets here in New York and in the US, I say to myself, people in Israel are criticizing the government, are fighting for Israeli democracy, are demanding a deal, are demanding to bring back the Israeli hostages, are demanding the government to change its actions. And down the streets in New York City or in any other part of the world, people are chanting in the streets, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free by any means. Basically saying that everything that happened on October 7th was okay. Basically saying to Hamas, because they're not chanting for the people of Palestine. They're not going and protecting the people of Palestine. They're basically protecting a terror organization. And what are they saying to this terror organization? They're saying to them, you know what? By any means, everything that you did, killing, murdering, raping, burning, kidnapping, everything is acceptable. You know what? It's not only acceptable in Israel, because we're talking about, colonizing, states and colonization. It's not only that it's acceptable on Israel, it's also acceptable on us. Because, by any means, it means that if you guys need to free Palestine, and you need to do the same thing on our soil, humbug. This is what they're saying. And this is driving me crazy, because this is not democracy. This is not freedom of speech. This is not fighting for equal rights. This is not fighting for self-determination of the Palestinian people. This is giving complete, understanding and giving backup to a terror organization. These are not, it's the next generation of the leadership of the United States. We're talking in 2024. We're talking all over the world. The Jewish people, again, are afraid to say that they're Jews. In schools, in elite universities. This is unacceptable. This is not democracy. This is not freedom of speech. Democracy and freedom of speech has limits. And the limit goes in inciting, in bullying, in racism, in antisemitism. You cannot, say whatever you want in the name of freedom of speech. It does not work like that, because what extreme people are doing, what the extremists are doing, if they're fundamentalist Muslims, and if they're extremists or if they're extreme right, Nazis, if they are all over, I don't know, extreme right extremism. What people from the very extreme side of politics are doing, they're basically using democratic values to hurt democracy. They're taking advantage of democratic values to take down democracy. Because us liberals, we're saying to ourselves, oh, I have to give you the right to speak. I have to give you the right to speak. Because, I'm liberal, I'm democratic, this is freedom of speech. No, it does not work like that. Because what these people are doing, look what happened in Israel. Our national security minister is Itamar Ben-Gvir. The guy that 27 years ago held, the candlelight sign of Rabin and said, we got to the candlelight sign, we will get to him too. And they got to him. They got to him. 27 years after. This guy that was so proud that they got to the car of Yitzhak Rabin is the national security minister of Israel. It is like mind-blowing. Why? Because on Israeli media, we said to ourselves, well, this is freedom of speech. We need to give him the stage to talk. We can handle people like him. And we forgot that people like him basically don't respect democracy. They want to destroy democracy. And this is what is happening. This is what is happening in Israel, and this is what is happening all around the world. So like I told you, I am optimistic because the people of Israel are not giving up. We're not giving up on Israeli democracy. We're not giving up. We're continuing to criticize our government about the way that it's acting and about the fact that we have 133 hostages that are not home yet. And I think that this is why I'm optimistic. Because we, as Israelis, are now forgetting that democracy is demostratos, is the rule of the people, and not the rule of the representatives of the people. And what we're doing right now is reminding our leaders that we have the power to take them down or to reelect them. But they need to do the job. And if they're not doing their job, so it's time for them to look.
Yitzhak Rabin opened this gate for a possibility of peace in the 90s, which with more or less success was taken up to Ehud Olmert's government. And then Netanyahu came. Of course, there was the second intifada and so much. Somehow, for some time, Netanyahu convinced the Israeli people that peace talks were useless, that peace was never going to come, that point in which there would be a Palestinian state and we could at last talk about peace, that moment in the future would never come. Right now, as you described, the north of Gaza is gone, it's a wasteland. How do you see the prospect of peace talks, of conversations starting to happen again between the representatives of Palestinians and the Israeli government after Netanyahu? Do you believe the people want this? What is the climate there?
Yeah. This is the question. I think that in one of my lectures here in MIT, in Boston. One of the professors there asked me about this, about how do people see the Palestinians? Is there any solution for all the destruction that is happening in the Gaza Strip? And I have to tell you that it's going to take time. I think, what happened on October 7th was horrible in every aspect. The way that Hamas committed these crimes was just, it's not even, the mind cannot start understanding how you can reach this kind of evils to do a thing as a. And yet, you say to yourself, okay, this is a terror organization. The Israelis could, in one way or another, if it only happened with, terrorists from Hamas organization, you could have said, okay, these are terrorists and they are civilians. What happened on October 7th to Israelis is the videos that they watched, seeing civilians marching, cheering, spitting on the bodies of Jewish women, torturing bodies, torturing soldiers, civilians. That was the main problem. When the body of Shanidu was in the back of the truck and people were laughing and cheering up on her body and spitting on her body, that was the main problem. And this is the main problem for Israelis. They can deal with, the fact that there are terrorists on the other side. Now, the fact that civilians, women, men, children, cheering on the bodies of Jewish people, of dead Jewish people, this is something that will take time for people to forget. And it will take time people to regain trust. And I think that the Palestinians that Israel won't happen. It's not only that, Benjamin Netanyahu, and I'm not, I'm criticizing that, and I think I did not vote for him. If you can not only criticize Netanyahu, what if he didn't want to sign a peace agreement with the Palestinians, it's not that the Palestinians anything said, the Palestinians in a stable world will we give off everything. Just let's arm media. It is not. A lot of the people that were murdered in the south of Israel, they were basically helping people on the Gaza Strip. They were people that believed in peace. They were people that not only believed in peace, a lot of people in the south of Israel did everything that they can to promote peace. They drove a lot of Palestinians from the Gaza Strip to Israeli hospitals. They volunteered to help Palestinians in any way that they can. And at the end, these people were massacred in their beds. This is a huge lapse. This is a huge slap in the face. And like I told you, I'm also optimistic. I'm watching today the relationship between Israel and Germany. And I look throughout history. And if I look at 75 years ago, 70, 80 years ago, he didn't have the best relationship with Germany, let's say the least. The Jewish people, knew their share from the Germans. And now, one of our biggest allies, the one country that stood next to Israel, throughout history, like in the last few years, especially on October 7th, it was Germany. So again, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic. It will take time. I think that it will take a long time.
Well, 80 years is a long time.
Yeah, it is, but I don't think that it will take 80 years, but we will have to be part of the solution of the Gaza. Because if people think that they wake up one day and they will, there are some messianic extremists in the Israeli government that think they will wake up one day and the Palestinians will disappear. You think that, I don't know, in a miraculous way, the Palestinians will disappear. And I'm saying to myself, okay, you know what? Let's go with your fantasy. The 2 million people in the Gaza Strip will disappear. And another 2.5 million living in the West Bank will disappear. Let's go with the fantasy. And another 2 million inside Israel, Arabs living in Israel, will disappear. You still left with 1 billion Muslims surrounding Israel. What do you think will happen? You will push them also? It doesn't work like that. These are the neighbors that Israel has. We're not putting in Switzerland. We're not putting in Brazil. We're not putting in the United States. We are living, I'm sorry for my language, in the Middle East. And the Middle East is complicated. And these are our neighbors in the Middle East. Our neighbors are not American. Our neighbors are not French. Thank God. Our neighbors are not, Swiss. Our neighbors are Muslim countries and Arab countries. Now we need to rethink the entire geopolitical situation because October 7th, with all the atrocities that we went through on October 7th, it's also dropped a huge opportunity in the footsteps of Israel. In the front of Israel, we have, peace agreement with Egypt. We have peace agreement with Jordan. We have the Abraham Accords. We have Saudi Arabia saying to us, guys, let's take a trip together. Because there is another enemy. And all these countries want to fight fundamentalist Islam. And on top of everything, they want to fight Iran. And they're together with us in the fight against Iran. Because this is the head of the stake of everything. Then this is a huge opportunity for us. And we need to understand that we have to be part of the solution the day after. And we need an exit plan. Something that we don't have right now. But we have to have an exit plan. Because we cannot continue the sport forever. It doesn't work. And right now, unfortunately, we don't have an exit plan. But we have to open our eyes to see the huge opportunity that just sits in front of us.
Lucy, you are an Israeli citizen. You were born an Israeli citizen. Your husband is fighting this war as a soldier, as an officer. You're also Arab and Muslim. How do you reconcile those identities? Is it hard at all? How does it work?
No, I don't reconcile these identities. I just want them not. Okay. Because this is what made me the person that I am today.
That's certainly fair enough. Yeah.
Being Israeli, being Arab, being Muslim, being a victim of the terror attack in the Gaza Strip. being a victim of, bullying and racism as an Israeli Arab citizen. I think that this is what made me today. But this is why I took a decision that I'm not apologizing anymore for being, Arab, for being Muslim, for being Israeli, for being proud of all these things. I'm really proud of who I am. I'm proud of all these attributes because, like I'm always saying, I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim of, a terror organization. I'm not a victim of Palestinian rebels. I'm not a victim of the extreme right coming in members. I'm not, a victim of a racist government that is making me make me feel that harder. I am a proud Israeli citizen of the state of Israel. I distinguish the fact that I'm protecting my country, I'm not protecting my government. And I'm protecting my homeland, and I'm protecting my friends and my family and the people that are close to me that lost their sons and their daughters in this horrible war. And I refuse to be a victim because I refuse to be an irrelevant citizen in this world. I'm not willing to be an irrelevant citizen in my country, and I'm not willing to be an irrelevant citizen in this world because I have a job, and I have a son, and I need to leave my son a good place to live in. I need to make sure that the country that he will live in will be better than the country that I lived in. And the country that I lived in was beautiful. It had problems, and it has problems that need to be fixed. And me as his mother, as the mother of Adam, who is half Jewish, half Muslim, I need to make sure that I'm doing my best to fix these problems. And I'm always saying that loving your country is like loving your parents. You will love your parents to death. You will do anything for your parents. You will go to 7 seas. You will walk in fire. But you said to yourself, no, I don't agree with my parents' plan. And I'm not going to teach my son exactly everything that my parents taught me. It doesn't mean that I don't love them. It doesn't mean that I'm not willing to do anything for them. It just means that I learned from their mistakes, and I'm trying to fix it. So my son won't be, with the problems that I have.
Do you have time for 2 questions from the crowd?
Of course.
Thank you so much. Quem quer fazer uma pergunta? O Milton está com uma cara de quem quer fazer uma pergunta. Vocês podem fazer em inglês, podem, se preferir, fazer em português, que eu... Lúcia? Claro, você quer fazer em inglês direto? Quer que eu traduza?
Okay, thank you for talking to us today. Very illuminating, make us hopeful. My question to you as a journalist is, how do we cope with all this misinformation that is being prevailed in Al Jazeera and other TVs across the Middle East? Because it seems like there's something to be done there. There's only a hope for peace if we can show a different narrative, or how do we deal with that? Since you're a journalist, maybe you have a route for us.
This is a difficult question because, goes back also to statistics. The Jewish people are a minority in the world. And the people who are supporting Israel are also a minority in the world. And Muslims are millions of people around the world. Now, unfortunately, we're living in the age, it's not only Al Jazeera, by the way. You know, I've been watching a lot of CNN and MSNBC and ABC and Fox News, and it's not only Al Jazeera. I see high-ranked journalists, international journalists, that really, it's like, you know, don't see, like, after, like this. Don't see themselves, don't see the way that they were acting in their country. But I think that what I can say and suggest is that take your children out of TikTok. Just take them out of this application. Take them, make sure that they are reading, that they are going back to books, that we're not giving up on education. You know, I know that we're talking a lot about Hezbollah. I don't know if Hezbollah, you know, fake news is it's a illness of the world. And it's very thriving in the age of social media. And I think that we can do what we can do, each and every individual, is to just get out of our social media, get out of our iPhones, and go back to reading books, to reading history, to questioning everything that we're reading. You know, I will give you an example. On Operation Protected Edge, I entered my Wikipedia page in Arabic. And in my Wikipedia page in Arabic, it was written that my father was one of the head pilots in the Israeli IDF, leading one of the biggest attacks on the Gaza Strip. And what my father is afraid of spikes. And he cannot be, like, really, as an Israeli Arab Muslim, he cannot even get near the cockpit, okay? And yet, people wrote that. And yet, it's believable in the Arab world that my father is a high-ranked pilot in the Israeli IDF. Because somebody just decided to re-edit my page. Since October 7th, my Wikipedia page was re-edited around 30 times. And one of the times, people forgot to write that I'm a victim of a terror attack in a Gaza Strip. They just erased it from my biography. So I think that we need to go back to education. We need to go back to put an emphasis on education. It's like exactly what will happen in the Gaza Strip. This is what I said. It will take time. The Americans thought that when they invaded Iraq, and when they invaded Afghanistan, they took down Saddam Hussein. They said, okay, here, we did elections, and it will work out. It doesn't work like that. Democracy is a process. And it's a long process. And it takes time to educate for democracy. We need to go back to education. We need to go back and not give up on education. We need to go back to read books. We need to go back in having, you know, a challenging discourse. We're not having a challenging discourse. We're basically in the echo chamber of people, you know, in the same echo chamber. We move around with people that think the same way that we think. We find it very hard to have a challenging conversation with someone who doesn't think like us. And we need to bring back to the table the word challenge. And moving in an uncomfortable way when you hear something that you don't agree with. It's okay to discuss it. It's okay to move in an uncomfortable way. But we need to be able to listen to one another, to listen to different ideas, and to stop saying, it doesn't matter. Nah, it will never happen. I remember, people said in the United States, it will never happen that Donald Trump will be the president of the United States. No way he can be the president of the United States. Surprise, surprise. He was the president. Then he lost. And now he's totally going to win again. Never say never. But go back to education. And it's hard. It's a hard fight. It's a hard fight. But, the Jewish people taught me, we're not afraid from a long path.
Mais alguma pergunta? Sérgio. Por favor. Eu levo meu microfone até você.
Lucy, first of all, thank you so much for your candid account there, and I was very touched by the things you've said. My question is, in your view, what the role that the Arab Israelis can play in this situation, and what is the prevalent mood among this community? This is my twofold question. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow, thank you for this question, because this is an important question. Israeli Arabs have a huge role in everything that is happening in Israel. I think that Israeli Arabs, I'm always saying, I'm the gatekeeper. I'm here to remind people in Israel their history. I'm here to remind people that 75 years, it's not a long time for a country. 75 years, it's baby steps. And I'm here as a minority living in Israel, reminding the Jewish people, that you know how it feels to be a minority. When I'm telling my story abroad to the Jewish people in the diaspora, it's amazing that Jewish people in the diaspora can understand my position as an Israeli Arab better than the Jewish people that I live with in Israel. Unbelievable. Why? Because the Jewish people in the diaspora go through this thing, sorry again for my language. And, our role is big. Our role is to be a mirror to the Jewish people and to say, people tend to think that Jewish and democratic cannot go along together. And I say, it has to go along together. Because of the history of the Jewish people. Because everything that the Jewish people went through, antisemitism, Holocaust, being persecuted throughout the years, the Jewish people cannot allow themselves to be something else than democratic. They cannot be something else. They cannot allow themselves to be something else. So I am here as a Muslim liberal woman to remind the people, Arab woman, to remind the Jewish people that you cannot fall in love with what is happening around you in the Middle East. You are Israel, like, Ehud Barak said it was, a villa in the jungle. But you need to open your eyes to what is happening in the jungle. And more than that, after October 7th, I think that October 7th was also a slap in the face in the Arab community. Because the Arab community in Israel, always discussed among itself, what is it? Who we are? Are we Israeli Arabs? We're Palestinians living in Israel? We're Israeli Palestinians? And October 7th just came and basically told us, you are Israelis before everything. Why? Because when Hamas terrorists entered, the fact that you wore hijab, or you said, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, or you said that you are an Arab man from Jerusalem, it didn't help you. They shot you right in the head. Why? Because you're Israeli Arab and you're cooperating with the state of Israel. More than 200 Arabs, Israeli Arabs, were murdered on October 7th. The fact that they were Arabs was not a guarantee for anything. So I think that what October 7th did to the Israeli Arab community was basically making the Israeli Arab community understand that it can no longer escape from their Israeli ID. That the Israeli ID is part of who they are. Not only that it's part of who they are, while the Jewish people in Israel have other nationalities. My husband is looking for his Portuguese, passport or, citizenship. Everybody's looking for another citizenship in Israel. And they have the ability because the Jewish people have been all over the diaspora. Me, I am stuck with the Israeli ID. I'm stuck with the Israeli passport. I don't even have the ability to think about have another passport. Because the only, I don't have a Jordanian, I don't have a Palestinian, I don't have an Egyptian, I don't have Lebanese, I don't have a Syrian. I have the only fucking Israeli ID that's in a lot of places in the world who do not use get payment with it. Now, to me, people are saying that I don't belong to Israel. Okay, Dutch, great you have a nationality, and I'm stuck with this nationality. What happened on October 7th was basically making Israeli Arabs understand that they cannot escape their Israeli ID. They can, argue with it. They can feel sometimes uncomfortable with it. Then they can have a very tense relationship with it, but they cannot escape it. They are Israelis whether they like it or not. And that what's happened on October 7th was basically reality hit us in the face. And because it hit us in the face, we can be, a lot of Israeli Arabs are asking themselves, and I know that they're, this is why on October 7th, a lot of Israeli Jews thought, they were sure, that Israeli Arabs will join Hamas and, take part in the massacre that Hamas did. And the Israeli Arabs said to Hamas, no, on a lot of points throughout the war. Hamas thought that in Ramadan, the Middle East will blow up, especially the Israeli Arabs will blow up. You know what? More than that, they were sure that the Palestinians in the West Bank or Palestinians in East Jerusalem will blow up. And they didn't. In one way or another, I think that we understand our priorities. And we understand better who we are, with all the difficulties that it's bringing with. We are Israelis. Above everything, we're Israelis. Whether we like it or not, that's reality.
Lucy,